Yes, Bob, I have made you host again. So
Okay,
now you can make me co-host,
great,
and I push the live stream as well.
great. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Bob, I can see that you are logged in with two IDs. It's Bob iPad and Bob.
Yes, yes, because in this class, I show people how to set the virtual background on their iPad.
Okay.
So I switch over to sharing my screen on my iPad for a short portion.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Yep.
How many participants are there in your class today?
I'm sorry.
How many participants I have signed up for your class?
I think it was like 25 or 30. This is always a popular class. So I think this is actually one of the smaller ones, but we've done it twice. This is the second time this week we've done it. So we're actually starting to do it 3 times. For some reason, it's just very, very popular.
Okay. So I'll be forwarding you in chat, and if any
Okay,
learner
great.
have got a question,
Thanks, Brandon.
you're welcome.
Welcome, everyone. I see a few familiar faces and some new ones. We have a fairly good sized group today. So what we'll do is we'll pause periodically for questions to make sure that people can get their questions in. It works a little bit better when we have a slightly larger group, but we'll be sure to be able to try and answer as many things as we can. We've got about 25 people that signed up for the class, so it takes them a minute or two to get in here. Okay, so let's see. Something must have happened with your camera. Okay, well,
Yeah, Bob, I'm on it.
okay, great. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate that. Brandon from Get Set Up Tech is our teaching assistant today. He's going to be monitoring chat. If you have any technical support issues or problems with using Zoom or the Get Set Up website or anything like that, he's just here to make sure that you can all get in the meeting and participate in case there's any difficulty. So just put something in chat and he'll get around to helping you out. Okay. Okay. I'm going to share a few slides here to get started, and let me make sure I get everything set up properly. Okay, because that always helps. There we go. So you should see a screen that says Zoom virtual backgrounds for beginners. Let me change my sharing here a little bit, get that better set up. There we go. Okay, that's a little better. Now we have a bigger slide here. I like that when it's easier to read. Welcome to Zoom virtual background for beginners. Okay, so whether you've used Zoom virtual backgrounds or not, we'll kind of get an idea of people's experience level when we get started. And I'm Bob Cohen. I'm your guide. I've taught adults how to use technologies for a really long time, since about 2007, and started with Get Set Up about 2000 or just recently in January, and been teaching classes. I do this, it's probably my most popular class, but I do a lot of classes on Windows and a few other things too. And we'll be talking about trying to make technology easier for you when it comes to using Zoom's virtual background feature. So you know we're a learning community at Get Set Up, and we are recording the class. If you look in the upper left-hand corner of your Zoom window, you should see a little record button. That's how you know you're being recorded. And you can request a recording after class by sending an email to help@getsetup.io. That's our universal email for anything you need from us, okay? If you're joining by live stream, and I know we are live streaming the class, we encourage you to join us at getsetup.io, set up an account, it's free, and register for a class. There's some advantages in having a registration because you can keep track of your classes, get a history of classes, and you can also sign up and participate in the Q&A portion of the class activities as well. We're not paid to promote specific products or services, but we do offer education on many of them, like Zoom and others. So you might hear us mention a few things as we go through the classes. Okay, so it's the agenda today. The agenda today is going to cover a few things about Zoom virtual backgrounds. Okay, one of the things we're going to cover is what's called the minimum hardware and software requirements. Now, obviously, if you're in a Zoom meeting, you're in Zoom, so you meet the requirements for using Zoom, but the virtual background feature sometimes requires a little more horsepower from your computer, and we'll take a look at what that is. We're going to go through some slides where I'm going to show you some screenshots of how you can change and add virtual backgrounds. And then I'm going to show you the differences between changing it on your desktop and smartphone and tablets, because smartphones and tablets work a little bit different from desktops. And then I'll show you a website, and in the email you get after class, you're going to get a link to lots of websites for background photos that you can use on virtual backgrounds, okay? So if you see me glancing to the left or to the right, it's because I have a chat open on a monitor just to the left of me, and I want to make sure I catch your questions. I have people in video to the right of me, and then I have my iPad so that I can show you when we actually use a tablet, and crossing my fingers, make sure everything works okay there. So let me get an idea here of how many of you have used virtual backgrounds ever on Zoom. Raise your hand, or wave, or give me a reaction. At the bottom of your Zoom window is a button called Reactions, and it's a good way to get attention or give feedback to the instructor while we're in a class. If you click on the Reactions button, you'll see the ability to clap your hands. I always like that. Give me a thumbs up, send some love with a heart, react with something as funny or not. And then there's also a raise hand function, and that actually raises your hand in the window on Zoom. So instead of having to hold your hand up physically, I can see a raised hand for you too, and I can lower it as well. So it really helps me a lot, because I know I can keep track of people that have a question and what order they ask them, and that's really helpful. So we have a few people that have used Zoom virtual backgrounds, but I don't see any virtual backgrounds up with anybody right now. Okay, so we'll take a look and see what we're doing, and whether we can get some virtual backgrounds up. Anybody have anything they really want to ask or concerned about, or had tried with virtual backgrounds and they aren't sure about, and maybe if we have a chance, or if it's part of the agenda, I can fit that in? Okay. Anybody have some virtual backgrounds that you want to put up now, you feel free to, because I know some people are going to get ahead of me when we start doing this. That's okay. But when I actually do it live, then we'll show you. I'm actually going to show you live on my computer how we do this. And how many of you is it starting to be evening? Is it after 6 o'clock? Anybody? Is it late? Okay. Well, thanks for joining me. Hope you had dinner, and relaxed and could enjoy this class at that time. Okay. All right. So let's see if you, try out reactions. It's okay. And if you have a question, just unmute yourself and speak up. Occasionally we might, mute everybody because computer microphones pick up a lot of noise in the background and it makes it difficult sometimes. So Karen, I see you have a cat joining us. Is your cat a Zoom user as well? Yes. Okay. All
I do
right.
have a friend that's still trying to get in. She
Oh,
tried
okay.
to sign up, but it kept putting her out. So she's still trying.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So let's see what we can let's go through some things here on my screen a little bit. And we'll talk about some things first. Okay. So one of the things I want you to be aware of is that Zoom, the company, makes the Zoom software. Okay. And they make the software to run on iPhones, iPads, Android phones, and Windows and Macintosh PCs. However, they do offer this virtual background feature. And I have a virtual background behind me. And I actually have something called a green screen as well. I'm going to change my video for a second and change my virtual background so that you can see that there is a real piece of green fabric. I can actually touch this and it moves along with me, okay? So this is a piece of green fabric that is behind me that functions as a green screen. You'll see this mentioned when we look at Zoom virtual backgrounds, okay? And I'd set this up because one, it improves the quality of the virtual background effect, but it also gives me the ability to show you what I mean when I talk about system requirements. Okay, you're going to get an email with a link to this website. And this website is on Zoom's Help Center. And what it does is it tells you what the system requirements are for a virtual background. Okay, so I'm going to put my drawing tool up here because I like to draw some things sometimes. Okay, so Zoom works on Windows and Mac OS, Linux, iOS, and Android. iOS are iPhones and iPads. And this covers the virtual background requirements. And you'll see that there's breakdown here of images and videos, okay? The most demanding requirement, requirement for virtual backgrounds is when you're using video without a physical green screen. That means you might have seen some people that put some motion videos up and back of them. That requires a lot of computing horsepower. It's like having a car, you're driving it up the hill and it starts to slow down as you drive up the hill. You're making that engine do more work. And when you use virtual backgrounds, you are making your computer do more work. Okay, so these are the 4 levels of work you can make it do, and they don't necessarily go in order. Okay, so the image only without a physical green screen means that you're using a picture behind you, but you're not using a physical piece of green fabric like I showed you. The image only with a physical green screen means you are using a picture, but you also have a piece of green fabric behind you. And we'll talk about why it's green in a minute. You can use video without a physical green screen, or you can use it with a green screen. Having that green screen makes it a little bit easier for your computer to do the work. And so you can use a slower computer with a physical green screen sometimes. Okay, Macs have the same breakdown. So what is this information going to tell us? if you're using a Windows computer and you want to use the image without a physical green screen, which is the most common situation people use it in, first thing you need is you need to have the latest version of Zoom's desktop client. Zoom is a piece of software that installs on your computer. And so you can go to zoom.us and download the latest version just to make sure you have it. It usually updates, but not always. So it's sometimes a good idea to download it. And it tells you it works on Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 10. Most people have Windows 10. And it tells you what the processors are that you need to make this virtual background feature work. Well, Intel makes processors they call i3, i5, i7, i9. AMD is used in Windows as well. And it tells you that you need something that has 2 cores or is a 5th generation. Well, Intel comes out with a new generation every year. We're in their 10th generation. And so a computer that's 5 years old that has an Intel i3 might be fast enough to do it, but a computer that's older than that may not do it, or if it doesn't have as fast a processor to do it. So you can find out what your CPU is in your computer by looking around the box or case, finding a model number, and just type in the model number into Google search, and you'll typically come up with the specification sheet for your computer. And you don't have to spend any money on advertising or anything like that. Usually your manufacturer like HP or Lenovo or Dell or Apple will have information on that. Now, without, video means you have to have a faster processor, and video with the physical green screen means you can use a little bit slower. So it's interesting, Zoom put all this together so you can tell right away whether your computer is fast enough or not. But most people just try it out first to see if it's going to work. And then they go and check, gee, what's causing the problem? And we'll talk about this. And then Macs tell you as well that typically any Mac that's about 4 or 5 years old or newer will work with it. And when you look at iOS, you need an iPhone 8 or newer, or an iPad Pro, or a relatively recent iPad. And on Android, it tells you what processor you need in your Android phone and what brands of Android phone will work with virtual backgrounds. Now, again, this is not saying that Zoom won't work. Zoom probably will work, particularly if you're in a meeting, Zoom is working. It's just that the virtual background feature requires more capability. Any questions about that? And my Windows 10 settings and in the Mac basics and some of the other classes, I've talked with some of the instructors, and they will show you how to find out what model you have or what speed your processor is. Excuse me, I have to take a sip. My throat gets dry from we have a little warm spell here in Los Angeles, so the weather's a little bit warm. Any questions so far? Okay. All right. Well, let's take a look at what this green screen might cost. Sometimes when you go to the Zoom virtual background feature and you check, I have a green screen, all of a sudden things start working because your computer might be fast enough to use virtual backgrounds with a green screen. And this is really a physical piece of fabric. The fabric itself is inexpensive. You can get these from Amazon and other places. You can go to Joann's and just make sure you buy as bright a green as fabric as possible. You pay more money when you get ones that have stands or racks to hold them on, because you have to figure out a way to hold this green screen up behind you somehow. But the actual fabric itself. Now, what's going on here? Why does this matter? Well, this is where I get to illustrate a few things to you. Not great illustration. My drawing skills are not terrific. I will tell you that now. Okay, so let's imagine that you are here in front and you're looking at a camera, and this is the camera on the webcam on your laptop or desktop, and it sees you, right? It sees you, and it sees everything that's in back of you too. So if you have a chair, or a table, or something else, whatever you've got behind you, or shelves that you might have with stuff on them, whatever's behind you is in the picture as well. This is what's really behind you. Okay, so I'm going to draw a little dashed line here. What the virtual background feature does is it says, okay, Bob, we're going to figure out who you are, and we're going to figure out what's behind you, and we're going to just delete what's behind you, and we're going to replace it with a picture that you can use from your computer. So if you have a picture in your computer, your Zoom virtual background feature will replace what's really behind you with a picture. It's like magic. I mean, I'm always amazed at what stuff does with technology. And I couldn't tell you exactly how it does it, but the software in Zoom that supports virtual background says, what you use it, you're saying, hey, wait a second, Zoom. I don't want you to show what's really behind me. I want you to replace that with a picture, which means you have to have a picture somewhere on your computer or device. And you have to have a computer that's fast enough to do this magic. And that's what it takes to do. Okay, so that's what it's doing, is saying, hey, and now the reason a green screen helps is that instead of having your furniture and your bookshelf and your mirror and your lights and whatever behind you, your camera's going, oh my gosh, I got to separate all this stuff and from what Bob is and figure out what else is behind him. You're going to make life easier on your computer and your camera and say, hey, don't worry about what's behind me. Just replace everything that's green and with something else. Because by making everything behind you green, it makes it a little easier for your computer and Zoom software to do the work for you. That's why it's green screen. That's why you see green screens. I don't know if you've ever seen a TV show or like a weather, forecaster. They always have the weather, in front of them, and they have these moving maps and things like that. That's done with a green screen. They're actually just pointing at a green screen in back of them. They aren't really, and they're looking at a video camera in front of them to see where they should point to and when they should move left or right, and walk around. That's the magic of video. Pretty neat when it works right, okay? And you can use it too, okay? So we just have to figure out how to make sure it works for you. Anybody have a green screen? Okay. I'm the only one. That's okay.
But I want to get one, but which one?
I'm sorry, Patricia,
Yeah.
we're getting a little feedback because you have two devices on audio. What you have a green, you wanted to know, could you repeat the question again? She might be on feedback. So Amazon is a great place to look for green, just do a search for green screen. The fabric is inexpensive. It's the way you have to hang it up. But if you've got a wall to hang it up on, or a curtain rod or something like that, you can do it. The stands that they make for hanging green screens and making sure they're positioned behind you run about $50 to $75, depending on how elaborate one you get. But they're all the green screen materials pretty similar. Okay. Okay. And there's a couple of ways to set up virtual backgrounds. We're going to show you how to do it while we're in the meeting, and I'll show you how to do it when you're not in the meeting. Okay, but you can actually start a meeting at any time. When you open up the Zoom app, and you're in a meeting now, so you won't necessarily be able to do it right now this way. But when you're not in a meeting, you can open up the Zoom app. This is on your desktop, okay, desktop. If you can click on the settings gear and then select background and filters, and it gives you, it'll show you a preview of how you look on camera. You have to turn your video camera on. And then you can use the plus button to select a picture on your computer or select a few of the standard Zoom virtual backgrounds they supply that are standard, okay? But yeah, I have some more pictures I've added here. So that's one way to do it, okay? Another way to do it is to start a new meeting anytime you want to. When you're not in a meeting, and you do have to have a Zoom account to start a meeting. You just don't have to, you don't have to have a paid one. It works on both free and paid. So you're not in the meeting, you can start Zoom on your desktop or your smartphone or your tablet and just click on new meeting, and it's just you in the meeting. That's okay. You can have a meeting with just you in it, but it'll give you access to all of the controls and options that you might want to use. We're going to show you desktop first, and then I'm going to show you mobile, and then we're going to go live so you can see what it looks like on my computer and even try it out yourself if you want. Okay, so on the desktop app, when you're in a Zoom meeting, like right now, you're probably, if you look in the lower left-hand corner of your screen for your Zoom window, you probably see a microphone and a video camera. There's a little tiny up arrow next to the video camera. And when you click on that, one of the options that will appear is choose virtual background. Now, some people have tried this and they've told me that they say when they click on that arrow and they try and choose virtual background, it says your computer does not meet the requirements for virtual backgrounds. And so you know right away that your computer is not fast enough to support it. But that doesn't happen all the time. I honestly don't know why, but in some cases, people will get that message right away that tells you right away it's not going to work. But when you click on choose virtual background, then your computer will display this screen on the left here. Let me get something to draw a little bit better on that. So it'll display this screen right here on the left, okay? And it'll automatically open up backgrounds and filters. When you want to use a background or choose a different one, you would click on the plus button below your picture, and that gives you the ability to add an image that you have in your computer. I see some people already going ahead and doing this. Or you can add a video if it gives you that option. If your computer is fast enough to support video, it will give you the add video option. What happens? Well, this window opens up and it lets you choose a photo from anywhere on your computer. So you have to have the photo on your computer. Zoom does give you a few standard backgrounds. They give you a San Francisco Bay Bridge, some grass, picture, space picture, and some videos like a tropical island and aurora borealis, but they don't give you any others. All the others are ones that I installed by clicking on the plus button, and it'll save them for you so that you can just click and switch between the ones you want to use. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I see Elaine's getting virtual backgrounds up. And you can see what's caught, how it's starting to have an effect and do it. Okay, so let's go to mobile devices. And then we're going to do this live. Okay. Mobile devices just work a little differently in terms of how their navigation works and where you get the photos from. On iPhones and Android phones, when you're in a meeting, if you tap on your screen, you'll typically see a menu on the bottom that has 3 dots and the word more, M-O-R-E. On an iPad, they show up at the top right, the 3 dots and the word more, M-O-R-E. And that is what you tap on. You tap on that button that says more, and it'll pop up with a menu for a couple of other options, but it will say either backgrounds or virtual backgrounds. When you click on the virtual background or background button, if you use it the first time, your phone or tablet will say, Zoom wants permission to access your photos. What that means is that the Zoom app needs permission to get to your photos. And if you want to use Zoom, your photos and virtual backgrounds, you have to say yes. So when that happens, you've got the ability to manage all of your virtual backgrounds. You can select a virtual background from a photo in your Photos application on your phone or your tablet. So it works a little bit differently because photos are stored in different places on phones and tablets than they are on desktops or laptops. Desktops or laptops use files to organize photos, whereas mobile phones and tablets store the photos in a Photos app. Okay. All right, so let's take a look and try and do this, okay? You ready for that? Let me stop sharing for a second, see if we have any questions so far. Thank you, Elaine, for letting us know you have to leave, and you're welcome to come to another session. We do about 2 of these a week, so appreciate that, okay? So anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so let's take a look at my entire screen. Okay, so I'm going to show you my whole screen. I'm going to minimize 1 or 2 things here for a second. And let me share my whole screen so I can show you what the heck I'm doing. Okay, so I'm using, try and make this as big as I can. It doesn't make the controls any bigger at the bottom. I'm going to try and draw so you can see these things, okay? So at the bottom of your Zoom window, right, you have your meeting controls. That's what that's called, for those of you that don't know. Okay, that is different for you than it is for me because I am the host. I have certain things that I can see and you can see them on my screen share because I'm the host. But below mine on your Zoom window, you should see a microphone and you should see a video camera in the lower left-hand corner. And there's a tiny little arrow that points up that's right next to the video camera. If you click on that arrow, it brings up a menu that pops up, and one of the functions it says is choose virtual background. If I click with the mouse, I wanted to try and draw a window around that. I can't draw and click on it at the same time. So the second setting, it says choose virtual background when it's highlighted, what's highlighted in blue. So if I click on that, that's when this menu pops up that shows me in a preview, and it will show background and filters. So this is the way I can select a virtual background. I can click on one that's supplied by Zoom, or I can click on the plus button, this tiny little plus button where my mouse is circling. If I click on that mouse little plus button, it brings up a menu that says add image or add video. My computer is fast enough to support image or video. When I click add image, it gives me the ability to select a picture from my computer. Now, I had done a couple of pictures and set some things up, so I just put them in a folder on my computer. This is a sunset. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so now I have my virtual background. It adds it to the virtual backgrounds you use here, so I can change them between different pictures if I want to by clicking on them. or I can delete them. If I wanted to delete this one's a little grainy, so I'm going to delete that one and get rid of it. It doesn't delete the photo from my computer. It just deletes it from my virtual backgrounds. All right, so Mary Ellen, you got it up there. Okay, great. Okay, who else? You like my new office furniture, right? So this is what happens when they show you. Phyllis, you got something up there? So that's some artwork you done,
Right.
Phyllis?
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Great, great. So you can see how it's possible to change what's behind you, and just for fun. I mean, just to give you now, obviously, if you were having a birthday party on Zoom, you might want to put a birthday cake or a happy birthday or message or something like that. So we're going to take a look at where we can find some pictures as well for those types of things.
Am I
Bob,
asking-
Bob,
Yes,
Bob,
Peter.
when I press choose virtual background, it says virtual backgrounds none.
Okay, so what'll happen sometimes is when you go to the video option and you go to choose virtual background and all you see is none.
Yes.
Okay, sometimes that's a sign that you're either one of two things is going on. One is you just need to update your version of Zoom to the latest version. So you
Okay.
get the virtual backgrounds. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that your computer might be too slow to support virtual backgrounds. Okay. One thing you can do is even if you don't have a physical green screen, you can click the button at the bottom that says of that virtual background window here. It says, I have a green screen.
Right.
Click that. Then you might see some pictures show up.
I see nothing.
Okay.
It's done.
I would then check the speed of your processor, go and check and see if it meets the Zoom virtual background requirements. And also, and then also update your your Zoom application from Zoom.us.
Okay.
Those typically are the two reasons why Zoom virtual background doesn't work. Let me stop sharing for a second so I can see some questions here. Go ahead. Jerry, you have your hand up. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, I've taken this class once before, so I thought that I had it, but with the virtual backgrounds. But when I hit the little three dots, I'm on a cellular phone, cell phone. So when I hit the little three dots and I go to virtual background, I have a couple loaded out there. So if I click on one and I close it, I thought that it was going to put it on the screen, but it doesn't.
If
I have
let's take a look at my tablet, Jerry, and you can tell me where you might be having some issues, okay? And we'll see what we do when we actually walk through it on a mobile device. Okay?
okay.
Okay, great. And let me get Jackie's question and Phyllis's question, and then we'll look at my iPad screen, okay? Go ahead, Jackie.
Okay, I have the screen up, the one that you were on like earlier, you were in the background. I have that up and mine says none. It's first virtual background, none, and then it has blur beside it. So I don't think I have any backgrounds, but when I clicked on blur, it just came, a box came up saying download smart virtual background package. Should I download something or either cancel or leave it alone?
You could, if it says it within Zoom, it's asking you to download from Zoom. So Zoom you may need to add some things. I would do that and download it because it's a Zoom message.
Okay, I clicked it, so it's starting to download.
Okay. All right. And Phyllis,
Now let me ask you one more other question. That plus sign, what you said about the plus sign earlier beside it.
okay, I have a little bit of a hearing disability, Jackie, so I'm not sure if I can hear you well.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, the plus sign, when you click on that plus sign, it's
Yes.
what's supposed to happen? I forgot.
Well, are you on a desktop or on a mobile device?
I'm on a desktop, which is an HP.
Okay, when you're on a desktop, you should see some options for virtual backgrounds, or you can hit the plus sign and add an image and find a photo on your computer to use for virtual background.
Okay, and I have, this is my last thing. It says using a virtual background will decrease your video resolution to maintain CPU bandwidth. What is that?
Well, that's just telling you that you're going to increase the capacity, the demands on your computer. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go now because I need to take a little bit the baby bite, so I'm good. Thank you.
Sure. Phyllis, you had a question.
Well, I'm just curious, it says backgrounds and filters, so I guess I was wondering what filters meant.
Well, we'll see. Filters adds little things like eyebrows and hair and mustaches and hats. If you have that capability on your computer, you get that. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, sure.
Okay,
And Carol, you have a question for
yeah,
go to the
I'm
iPad.
on the, I clicked on background and filters. And I put, mine says none also, and I put the plus sign over here. And all I get is my own stuff on my computer.
Right. That's when you hit the plus sign, you'll be able to add your own pictures.
But how about the pictures you were showing us? How do I get them on here?
Well, I download the latest version of Zoom from zoom.us so that if you don't see, I mean, some of the photos I have are photos that I've added. So that, but Zoom gives you a few standard photos you can use if you, and so I tried downloading the latest version of Zoom from zoom.us from the website, okay? And
Okay,
that
so I have
might
nothing.
install them. It should install them if your computer is fast enough to run virtual backgrounds, okay?
So if you're on the iPad, where do you go to find virtual
Great
background?
question, Pat. That's because that was my last question before I go to my iPad. Okay, so I'm going to try doing something on my iPad. It usually works, okay? But you know, with technology, there's always something that could go wrong, right? So I'm going to try sharing my iPad screen with you. Voila, I am sharing my iPad screen. And if you look on my screen, there's a big white area, right? And at the top, it says Zoom, but at the upper left, it says leave, Zoom. Then there's a headphones that says join audio, a video camera with a line through it that says start video, and a stop share, participants, and then 3 dots that say more. Okay. Tap that. I'm going to tap on those 3 dots that say more. And it brings up a menu. And one of the menu items is background and filters. Well, Zoom just updated something because yesterday, Monday, it didn't do this. Okay, so I'm going to click on background and filters, and it brings up me. You're seeing me on my iPad camera, which is not as good a camera. Of course, cameras never make you look as good as you want them to, right? So that's always a challenge with cameras. But I have used backgrounds before on my iPad. But if I look at the right-hand side of my screen, I see background, and I have some backgrounds I've used, and I have a plus button. When you first use backgrounds on your phone or your tablet and you tap the plus button, it will ask you for permission to use your photos, and you have to say yes, and then it can get to your photos. Since I've already done it, it has my photo. So I was out at Riverside, California the other day, and I was taking pictures of UC Riverside's sign. And if I select one of those pictures and I tap done, then it changes the background to what my photo is that I selected. So on the tablet or smartphone, you tap the more button, tap background or background and filters. It might say some different things. and you can select a photo. So if you want to use one I previously used, I can tap on it. And you can't see me with my finger, but I'm tapping on each of these photos to change my virtual background to that photo. And if I want to add a new one, I can just tap the plus button and it'll let me select a photo from my backgrounds here. So I can make a picture of my daughter-in-law's cat there. That's my big background here, okay? So this is how you do it on an iPad or an iPhone. Yeah. The three dots. And so I'm going to stop sharing here on my iPad and iPhone. Okay, so that's how you can do it. Now, you may get a message that says your computer, but I see what, Sue, you've got a great black, is that a black and white photo you took, Sue? Okay, and Mary Ellen, is that a photo you took?
Yes, it is. I just took it the other day I have an iPad Pro and an iPad 12 Pro phone or iPhone too.
Yeah.
And I never had one before, so I'm just learning this month, but this is fabulous.
You're gonna love it.
And Patricia, were you able to find the three dots? Go ahead and unmute yourself, Patricia.
When I go to the three dots. Okay.
Patricia,
Sorry.
we're getting some feedback from your
Yeah,
iPad. Do you
because
have a
I'm
computer?
looking, when I go to the three dots, it only gives me the words chat, meeting, minimum,
Okay.
and disconnect.
Okay, what that means is that your iPad may not be a model that's new enough to support virtual backgrounds.
Okay.
I would just double check and make sure in the iPhone and the iPad App Store that you download and make sure your Zoom version is the latest. But if you have an older model iPad or an iPad mini, it might not support virtual backgrounds. If you don't see that menu, virtual backgrounds or backgrounds, 98.73% of the time, it means your device just won't support virtual backgrounds.
Yeah, and the other one died. I was on the other one, and a more recent one, I just went and plugged that in and got this one, but I'll try that one.
Okay, try that one. If it's the one that's about within 4 years old or 5 years old, it should work. Okay, so it's
well, then I should be able to get it on the other one.
okay, great. Okay,
Thank you.
that's why though. That's why. Okay, so Peggy, you got some background up there. Carol, you got some background. Now, what's happening sometimes is that you may notice that you get some fringing or sometimes your face is fading in and out. That has to do with three things. The amount of lighting you have in front of you. Virtual backgrounds does not like it when you have light behind you. So if your camera is pointing at a bright window, it doesn't make it happy. So that's one thing. The second thing is the quality of the webcam. You saw how I looked on my iPad. It was fuzzier than it is on my webcam that I have on my desktop. And then the power of your computer. Your computer just may not be, have enough horsepower to climb up the hill to do the work that needs to do to support virtual backgrounds. Phyllis, did you have a question? You had your hand up? Go ahead and unmute.
Sorry, basically, I think you're answering it. I was wondering why we have a ghost,
Yeah.
See the ghost, but it's a lot of people, I noticed that,
Yeah. Now, what happens is that right now I'm not using, I don't have a green screen and I wear glasses. And so when you notice if you look at the corners of my lenses, if I turn my head, there's a little bit of that fringing. It's not real sharp. Okay. If I turn on the green screen effect here and check, I have a green screen, it gets a lot better. It's much sharper and clearer. So having a green screen, if you really want the best quality, a green screen really does it. But if you have a fast enough computer and you have a relatively, plain, it's a good of lighting, you can really do it without this green screen effect if you want to.
But see, when I move, I can still see it, you know? So
Yeah,
I guess
yeah. See,
I'm
when
too
you
slow,
can
right?
actually see the back of my office chair very clearly, whether it's here or not. But if I go to the non-green screen setting, you know, things kind of fade in and out a little bit. And that's because my computer is pretty fast and it does okay. But even with the best computer I have about a 4-year-old Apple Mac. So even with a pretty fast computer, the green screen, using a physical green screen just makes it really sharp. Okay, but it depends on who you're on camera for, right?
I guess what, just live with it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know, most people aren't going to mind it, you know, and like I say, the pictures, some of them look really sharp, you know, because people have recent model computers and good lighting, and that makes a tremendous difference.
I guess I'm kind of behind, but I got a picture and I want to put it on there now. So how do I do that? How do I choose the picture for it?
Well, let's go through it one more time, and then I'm
Thank
going to
you.
show you a
Sorry.
website where you can get pictures. Let me share my whole screen. And I can show you what's going to happen. In the lower left-hand corner of your Zoom window, you've got a microphone and a video camera icon.
Mhm.
To the right of the video icon, camera icon, very, very small up arrow. When you click on that, it'll bring up the menu where you can go to choose virtual background. And when you click on that, you'll see either none, or you'll see some that might be available from Zoom, or you can click the plus button to add your own image. So if you click on the plus button and then select add image, then you can find your picture on your computer and then use it, and you're selected for your virtual background. So you'd select it, the picture in your file, click open, and it loads the picture up. Now, if you have great pictures, that's great. You know, I mean, I like to take pictures, and I've taken pictures of the Rose Parade and other things here in Southern California. But let's say you just want something that's a bookshelf or flowers or something that you'd like to use. Where do you find some pictures? Well, there are some free websites out there that let you go out and find pictures. So let me show you one and let you see, so you can see how it works. Let me set up my screen share here. And then I'll show you the website. There we go. Okay. So there's a couple of websites that I use. I actually teach a class on finding free photos on the internet. And one of the websites I talk about is a website called Pexels. You're going to get this in the email after class. I'll also put it in chat here as well. And they have millions of free photos. So if you were looking for that perfect bookshelf for yourself, you can go to Pexels, PEXELS.com, do a search for bookshelf, and they even have one like bookshelf background. Let's try that. Okay, and these are free, perfectly legal to use, and they show you different kinds of background. So if you wanted to have a background that gave you, you know, a little more of an effect in your office, for example, this one might be one that might be good. It's a living room set, or this one, or something like this, or let's find another one that might be good. This one like this. If we want to download that, we just click on the download button. It will download the file to your computer. Okay. It'll download the file to your computer, and you don't have to donate, but I usually do to do that. but the picture got downloaded to my downloads folder. And now if I want to use it as a virtual background, I go to my full screen and I go to sharing my whole screen. And I go to the video control, up arrow, choose virtual background menu. And when I click on the plus button here, I have to find where the image is. Well, I moved it to my desktop real quickly, so it's easy to find. That's the file name. And if I click open, now it will put that picture behind me.
That's cool.
So you'll get the link to Pexels in the email follow-up to class. So you'll be able to find it and use it and take advantage of it. And like I say, sometimes your computer may not be fast enough, okay, to use virtual backgrounds, but you can try it. Sometimes having better lighting in front of you can make a difference. I actually have two 100-watt bulbs to either side of me in front of me that are lighting up me and my, so that it helps a lot too. And I have a $50 webcam I bought at Costco. Generally, the accessory webcams you get that plug into your computer are better quality than the ones that come with your camera or with your computer sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. Okay, so let me stop sharing. See if we have any questions here. Now that you've got my bookshelf background, let me change it to my get set up background. Okay, so I'm ready for the next class. Any questions about this? Looks like some of you got it working. Some of you may have to find out that your computer, even sometimes some people have sent an email to help@getsetup.io, and some of our people have been able to help people with virtual backgrounds as well, because they know we teach this class and it's popular.
So I have the virtual background. I'm on the iPad.
Yeah, yes, Ute?
And I find the background and filters. And I want to put the picture up. How do I make it so that it sticks?
Well, when you press you're on an iPad?
Yes.
Okay, when you've selected the virtual background, you tap the plus button and you pick your picture from your photos album.
I did that.
Okay. And then tap done. Okay. There should be a done button on your screen.
That's not there.
Okay.
I didn't look down far enough, and that was why it didn't work the first time for me.
Mary Ellen, you're on the iPad and you just look further down.
When I was on the iPad, I picked my picture and then I needed to look down at the bottom of the picture and tap done.
Right.
Okay, now I'm already further. So where Zoom had their 3 pictures, I already put my picture on there.
Yeah.
But then when I push the X to get out, the picture goes away.
Okay. Well, let me close out the class, Udi, and I'll stay on a minute or two to see if I can help you out.
That's okay.
It's really hard to diagnose what's happening without actually being able to see what you're doing, unfortunately. Yeah. But all I can do is show you the steps that I know work.
Okay.
But we'll try and see if we can figure it out. Okay.
That's all right.
Okay. Well, let me share a few closing slides here with you that will help wrap up class. In our class, we've learned about the system requirements for virtual backgrounds, some ways to change and add it, a website where you can go for free photos. There's a lot of Zoom classes. I don't know if you've taken any from Donna or other people from Vicky that have taught the Zoom classes, but We actually do some Zoom classes for iPad users as well that are separate, because iPads work a little bit differently than desktops. And so we found we had to do it that way. I do some other Zoom classes on using PowerPoint, and you can actually use PowerPoint to create images to use in virtual backgrounds. Our Brandon has posted some upcoming classes that I do all about web browsers, and one on Microsoft 365 overview as well. You're going to get the email with help and instructions to Zoom's website that will have help instructions on how to use virtual backgrounds, Zoom's requirements, and a link to the website I showed you for downloading photos. You'll get some recommendations on some classes, and a link to give us some feedback on the class as well. And we always like to know what people think of it. And now there's a new tool. If you registered on our website or mobile app, now you can tell a friend about a class when you actually book the class. And I've done that and invited friends to join me in some classes. I take classes too, because you can always learn something. And you can always reach Get Set Up at help@getsetup.io, whether you're requesting a session recording, whether you want to let an organization you belong to know about it, if you want to suggest a new class, or whether you want to host an interest group or something else. And so those are all resources that are available to you as part of being a member of the Get Set Up community. And we have some learners that actually start, hosting interest groups. We give them a lot of support and do that. I don't know if you know Norman Reese, but he actually helps people get interest groups set up, so that if there are other things you're interested in, you can participate in them as well as with other learners. So
now whenever I bring up Zoom now, it'll have this background on it.
It 99% sure it will. Okay. Once in a while, for some reason, I don't know why, sometimes I bring up Zoom and it doesn't have the virtual background that I chose, but more time, 99 out of 100 times, it works just fine. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sure, thanks. Well, I like the fact that you all got some virtual backgrounds working here. Many of you, give it a try it out. And Uday, if you want to stay on a minute or two, let's see if we can walk through, and I can show you what I'm doing. You can walk through it on your device, okay?
It's okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for coming, everybody. Have a great evening. Enjoy your virtual backgrounds, great photos there. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
hope to see
Thank you very
soon.
much.
I was able to, sorry. I was able to pull up a picture on the other one, but I had to go to photos and I had to give it permission.
Yes, Patricia, good.
Yes, on the iPad. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. Glad that one worked. Just needed a faster iPad. Glad you got one. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
but the PC said it didn't have enough, or it wouldn't support. Do I have to buy something for that, or it won't work?
No, that means your PC just doesn't have a fast enough processor in it. It just not enough horsepower is what it is.
Okay, I'll just use the iPad. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Good to see you, Patricia. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for sticking with it. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.